We are here today with Cultivate Academics. They are amazing. This is the second interview that I have had with Rebecca, and now her counterpart, Stephanie, is here. And we are just going to talk about all things education. And seriously, I'm going to be reading from my notes because they offer so much that I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So we're going to start. What is Cultivate Academics? How'd you get started? What is it that you do?
Yeah, so Cultivate Academics is an educational consultancy, I think. You know, as you mentioned, we cover a lot of what young people need in education, specifically toward higher education. So we start with students as young as 8th grade in middle school who are looking to really kind of move into their high school experience with intention. And what we mean by that is, what do I want to get out of this experience? High school is compulsory. Everybody has to go through it, but that doesn't mean that we all have to go through it the same way. Right. So we really open up conversations with students and parents about what is it that you want to get out of this experience. So most of our students are very clear about the fact that they're college going, right? So we help them curate a high school experience, whether that be with AP classes, IB programs, a particular magnet program throughout their high school experience. So that's kind of one thing that we do with the 4 years of high school. Then students moving into applying to college, we help students kind of, create those narratives in their college applications, whether it be essays, supplements, choosing the best fit for their college experience for them based on, their priorities, their personalities, what they want to major in. And then we also offer SAT and ACT tutoring, content tutoring. We've got a great team now, and Steph really is kind of the heart and soul of that. And then we also offer medical school, law school, any sort of graduate school application support as well. So while I kind of handle a lot of the moving into higher ed, Steph, like I said, handles a lot of the content tutoring and testing. And if you want to chat a little bit about that, that's kind of the second half of what we do.
So I guess quickly, I am 51. I think I just started learning what I want to be when I grow up. So how do you take these just fresh little people and help them? Like, if you're helping them with content, if you're helping them with all of these things, what does that even look like for these students? How do you get them to that place where they're like, oh yes, this is where I want to be. This is what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I think for students that don't know what that is, which is very common, we just hope to be like that stepping stone. So maybe they don't know necessarily their end goal through their time with us, but we hope that we can look at what they've done, who they care about, who they connect with, what motivates them, recognize patterns, and as an external source and mentor, mark our observations and help them just form that path along the way. Would you say?
Absolutely. And there's tools that we use. We Cultivate Academics, has been around for over 5 years now, and I've been doing college admissions and tutoring and whatnot for well over a decade. I've been in education for 20 years. So, we've created a curriculum where we have protocols of, finding your infinite, right? So when we start talking about what a student might want to, write their essay about, or if they're curious about what they might want to major in college, we've got curriculum that kind of goes through those sort of things. So, we start from you kind of implied an infinite goal setting. What is it that you want to do with this one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver would say, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, who do you care about? What makes you excited? What are the things that you're passionate about? When you can do anything, and there's no time constraints, what is it that you want to read or watch or partake in. And a lot of times, no one's ever asked young people these questions. I often say, we send these kids to this place for 7 hours a day where they're largely spoken to, and they have to work quietly. And then all of a sudden, senior year, they get to these college applications and they're asking questions like, tell us about a time that, someone challenged your point of view. Who did you turn to for conversation? And they're just like, I don't know.
And I'm supposed to know what I want to do with the entire rest of my life.
Right. At 17 years old.
Right.
So that's a big job. I think that, we really recognize the space that young people, teenagers in particular, inhabit, and that we meet them where they are, right?
Yeah.
And we start to ask those questions in a manner that gets the conversation going. Outside of that, certain tools that we do use, there's a platform called YouScience that we really enjoy. It's like online games that kind of like filters through, are you kind of a words person, or how do you like to communicate with other people? And that gets
that's huge.
It starts to give them vocabulary with which they can start to speak about themselves.
Right.
We also use the Colby assessment, which I know all three of us are very familiar with per our previous conversation. Like I said, I use protocols, a lot of stuff that I've gathered from people like Simon Sinek, who talks about, the infinite game and things like that. So, and it's even down to very specific things like, what are your top 5 priorities in college? Do you want to go to a big school? Do you want to go to football games? Do you want to go to sororities? What sort of internships do you want? So we compile a lot of tools. We have a lot of tools that we can kind of work with and to meet students where they're at to kind of move through that.
So what I am hearing, which I think is, and maybe it's not, but my perception is you are taking the whole individual and you are guiding them to something that whole individual, not just grades, not just sports, but what they may be looking at, excelling in because of interest other than school or other than academics.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we really look at college as finding the good fit. And sometimes there are many, many options that can be a good fit, but finding what the good fit is our biggest priority in matching students and finding where they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of digging, it takes a lot of questioning. And I think that that's really what I feel sets Cultivate Academics apart from, you could go to any sort of business and pay for tutoring or help, pay somebody to help you, fill out your applications.
Or write an essay.
Exactly, right? And we all do that. Even when we're older, we should be, seeking out experts. But I think what sets us apart is our core really is mentorship. These students get to know us. We get to know them.
Yes.
We've got some students who start with us truly from, 8th grade. Steph's got a cohort of freshman girls right now that I just know that she is a mentor to them and she will continue to be over the next 4 years. I've been doing this long enough now. We have someone on our staff who I tutored when they were a junior in high school. I tutored this person in SAT, helped them through the college admissions process. Now they are applying to medical school.
Wow.
And in their free time, they're tutoring, AP chemistry and AP biology for us. So, this work that we do is not, I'm helping you fill out an application. Okay, you filled it out. You're done. See, never see you again. It's the relationship.
I think the other key component is when you have a freshman cohort of girls who are in the room with like-minded individuals who have similar goals, similar, just the desire to exceed in this college, realm, I think that also changes the trajectory of where they go from here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that infinite mindset, right? So it's what is it that who do you want to impact? What is it that you want to do with your life? And then what we provide is guidance on the finite steps along the way, right? So I've got to pick my classes. every year,
Yep.
you know? Okay, well, if this is what you really want to do later on as an adult, right? Or this is what I'm passionate about. How do we work backwards and make really great choices about how I'm going to spend my time inside of the classroom? You know, what is it that I want to learn about now that's going to fuel what I want to do, you know, with my life? And then the other finite things where, you know, yes, SAT and ACT are part of it. You know, getting a great grade on the geometry test is part of that infinite goal. They're finite steps along the way, even choosing the college. But I think just to start to have that conversation so early. I mean, you even alluded to like, I just feel like now I'm figuring out what I want to do. It's
well,
like,
you weren't around when I was
having that conversation when you're 15 or 16 years old and knowing what I choose is my choice and I can, you know, kind of curate my life along the way. I think young people are starting to wake up to that. I mean, our Gen Zs are just like,
I can do anything.
They're so far ahead of the rest of us. And I have a couple of Gen Zs myself, so but I think that what you're offering, and I know for me, time goes by so quickly, and before you realize it, high school is over, you know, and now there's no preparation. And so I think that you starting at the place where you start in that maybe 8th grade year does nothing but set students up for success so that they get, you know, that reverse engineering of where they eventually want to end up. So I think that's genius.
Yeah, but we also recognize that not everyone starts early. And so if you're in the middle of senior year and recognizing that applying to college is challenging and overwhelming, we're still here for you.
Yeah, well, that's also good to know because I think that is what happens sometimes is it goes by quicker than we expected it to. And now we're sit there like, what do we do? Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, let me see because I know you guys have you have so much information. I want to make sure I get through all of it. So, so who is the student that should work with you?
Yeah, I think students who are open to spending the time and energy to really answer those questions, to be asked those questions, right? And certainly in the college admissions space that mostly I work with students who are college bound, you know, students who are willing to spend the time and energy to be authentic in their college admissions process, right? So those essays, resumes, stuff like that. And then, you know, certainly we offer content tutoring and testing tutoring as well. Like I said, Steph does a lot of that. And, you know, that's a similar student, but you know, you can kind of speak a little bit to that as well. Like,
yeah, it is absolutely anyone who is willing to take the time and energy to be able to work on themselves in that way and be motivated to reach their goals and be open and authentic. I think that is really our ideal student is the people that are willing to be their true selves with us so that we can help them along the way achieve those goals.
Yeah, so just that people understand it's coming in, it sounds like that this is not surface level. This is deep. This is deep. This is getting to your true reasoning for why you want to do a specific thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even, you know, and Steph, what's been so great about our partnership too is that, you know, she is completely dedicated to that vision, right? Of knowing that even if we are, you know, tutoring a student who wants to get a 30 on the ACT, you know, the motivation, the process really is still the same. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, how you start with a student who, you know, comes to you for tutoring or comes to you for SAT or ACT assistance, because what I think that she's built, you know, she's kind of heard the vision of Cultivate and then built something completely, you know, for her students that has kind of aligned with that.
Yeah. And I think it's challenging in this day and age where we have many schools who are test optional and students here are test optional and often want to opt out of that. We can't blame them for that. However, we also have students that have dream schools and know that it takes a high ACT score to get there. When students come to me, a lot of the time they are fantastic students in the classroom, but they have not been taught the skills on how to take the ACT or the SAT. And so when they take a practice test with me, they're disappointed with where they're at.
Yeah.
And we talk about a lot with motivation. So where is it you want to go, and why is that a place that you want to go to? Why is it a dream school? And maybe it's because family's gone there, they've grown up going to football games. But beyond that, it's like, I love the school spirit. I love that it's in this big area where I can really see myself at.
Yeah.
And we can talk about some other schools that might be able to meet those things. So if they cannot hit a 30, a 32, or something that is quite high, that a lot of these schools are starting to, I guess, become more regular in this world that's test optional, that makes scores submitted much higher. They can still find what they want with where they're at.
Yeah. And I think that it's good that you have that, because I think that a lot of times when you're comparing to other classmates that may even not be true scores, I think that if you don't have that outside perspective of, I believe in you, you can do this. This was one blip in this process, and we can get you where you want to go. I think that there's so much of, kids that expectations are so high, and if they don't meet it the first time, they tend to give up. So having people in their corner who are saying, listen, you're not the only one. This is common when you come in and you take these tests for the first time. I think that is really helpful as well, because it's not their parents telling them, you can do it. It's somebody that's, objectively not necessarily somebody that's just going to tell them what they want to hear, that they can actually get that done. And you have the tools to help them get it done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just such, it's like a warm, cozy, I honestly, I wish that I had something like that, that I could say, oh, I'm not alone. I could have help. I could, do all of these things, but I do know, that it takes commitment.
Yeah. Well, you use such a great word, perspective, too. And I think that that's really, a huge part of what we do is that we're opening up the perspective, right?
Yeah.
So, people think, applying to college or SAT or ACT, when you think about applying to college, it's the admission letter.
Right.
And that's 10 seconds, right? You open up that admission letter, and that is a moment in time. When the people talk about SAT and ACT, that's one score. It is two numbers. That is it.
Right.
So what we are doing is, for lack of a better cultural zeitgeist word, but we're disrupting that, right?
Yeah.
We are opening up the perspective of, it's not about where you go, it's about why you go. It's not about the score, it's about your motivation to why you're taking this test.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a mature way of thinking. And, that's why we're called Cultivate Academics,
Yeah.
So I love a good pun, growing through the college admissions process, but that's really what we're about. We want these students to understand that life is long, right?
Right.
And it is growing all the time.
Right.
And, it's best if you can come from a place of knowing why I'm doing these things.
Yeah.
And not just kind of like focusing on the end point,
Yes.
the journey, and what happens after the end point.
Right.
That's really, really important.
And we just came from a class today that, they're going through, what is your why? Why do you have these goals that you want to hit? And my response to that is, I want to know, for me, not for anybody else, for me, that I am the best version of myself today that I could possibly be. and that along the way, I played full out. I'm not the best version of myself because I didn't give my all. I am the best version because I did give everything that I had to give. And I think that's sometimes what we miss is that we really do, we can sit back and we can let things happen, or we can join in and we can make things happen. And I think that's kind of where we have to get to. And if you can get kids to that point, I mean, you are doing a service, to these young people, because they are just getting leaps and bounds above where even adults are, in their journey, because they have someone who believes in them and says, here's the tools.
Yeah.
Here's the tools. You use this, you're limitless.
Right.
I mean, you can do literally whatever you set your vision to.
Yeah. But you got to set it. And that's what I love that you said is that, you said, like, I can do whatever I want. I'm in control of that. And so, our quarterly package, so for freshmen and sophomores, and really anyone, I mean, we will meet with anybody,
Truly,
but for mainly our underclassmen, freshmen and sophomores, I try to meet with them 4 times a year at the beginning of each quarter, right?
Yeah.
And so we set short and long-term goals. I've created a curriculum called Appreciative Goal Setting. We have a quarterly 4-year kind of practice or program or protocol, whatever you want to call it, that allows for the time, right? So we honor that, like, when you are starting something new, like a new quarter in your high school career, that let's sit down for an hour. What do I want out of this?
Right.
Or the kind of reflection, what did I experienced last quarter that I want to continue? What worked? What didn't work?
Yeah.
What changes am I going to make this quarter to reach the semester goal that I have? And then how does that fit into my yearly goal that I have? How does that fit into my high school goal that I have? How does that fit into my infinite goal that I have? And again, just kind of the guidance through that allows students to just understand that they're in control of their high school experience. Yes, I've got to take these particular classes that, XYZ school is telling me that I have to take.
Yeah.
But you are still, you're not a little minion.
Right.
You are an autonomous human being that gets to choose why and what, you're going to experience. And so along with that, those conversations, we start to get to know these students really well.
Yes.
And that mentorship does begin to happen. And because we both now know so much about, different colleges and their cultures and, what students can experience on campus, we kind of can start to curate that list over time. And a lot of times what comes out of those conversations too is, I might be really interested in this particular major or career field. And we encourage them, well, go find somebody who's doing that.
Right.
Go connect with them. I'll help you write the email to, the commercial real estate agent, in my city, or that, my dad's friend knows, or something like that, to say, hey, can I shadow you for a little while?
Right.
Because I think also there's not one path. My grandmother would say there's a million ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's not just one path. And college isn't always it either.
Right.
We specialize in that, but we recognize that every student's path is different. And we encourage them to do that research, be diligent and mature in saying, like, just because I'm 15 doesn't mean that, like, somebody's not going to take my phone call and let me follow them around for a while.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of, I think, what we empower students to do.
Yeah. Just showing them exactly that it's in front of them and they have adults around them that want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hate to tell you this, but we did not get through the list.
That's okay. We had such a great conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think I have time for a few more. So I will try to not talk and let you guys answer these. Okay. So I guess that is, so we got through the testing, we went through the tutoring. Okay. So what do students and families, because I feel like this is a family decision. This is probably not, I mean, students are probably not seeking you out. It's probably their families that are saying, listen, I found out about this program that you can take. We would love for you to go, meet with them. So what do students and families feel is the most important value that you bring to this process?
Yeah, I think through all of our services that we offer, we find that many families have a reduce in stress. We also really hope to allow parents and children to maintain their relationship of parent and child. And not have parents feel like they have to fill these different roles along the way. So we love to be able to just take that off, let us handle that. You can feel trusted knowing that we are going to make sure things get in. We still hold our students accountable in everything that they do, but now there's a professional that's going to be on top of that with it.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think, the reduction in stress goes, for the family and certainly the student, like you alluded to, having somebody in your corner, I just think kind of takes that stress and anxiety, out of it. And certainly, I think too, the skill of learning how to seek out professionals, seek out kind of your people, especially when students go away to college for the first time, parents are not there.
Right.
And they're going to have to seek out their advisor and, their professors. And I think that we kind of create a bridge between, that kind of leaning on parents and the new chapter in college. So I think it's a great kind of, like I said, a bridge.
Well, and it does allow for trusted advisors to be able to start helping them have hard conversations, to start helping them seek advice from people who are not their parents or people who are not in their, immediate circles. So I don't know about you, but I wish that you guys were around. I mean, I would have been a horrible person for you to try to tell what to do because I am super stubborn. I may not have qualified for your program, but now I would. So, I really do feel that this is so important. And I think that students need to also realize, yes, they're just doing this maybe for high school or for college, but they're going to be growing their entire lives, hopefully. They're going to be learning new skills their entire lives. And so this is kind of just a jump start on that process to get them used to seeking out advice, taking direction from people, and just continuing that growth process. So we are going to link Rebecca and Stephanie's information and Cultivate Academics website in the notes so that you can reach out to them. I learn something from you every single time we sit down. So I love that they're here to help our students in Las Vegas. I guess that is another question. Do you help any students outside of Las Vegas?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Zoom, everybody's comfortable with Zoom now.
Yeah, so Zoom it is. So you do not just have to live in Las Vegas, but if you want to see their beautiful faces in person, they are located here in Las Vegas, and they are going to be more than worth your time and effort of getting your students into their hands to cultivate their minds and their academics. So we will see you the next time. Thank you so much for being here today.